So let's talk about a little bit just about the Fringeless class. If anybody doesn't really know what that is, it's a warping technique. And so why would we want to do, well, here, I'll show, I mean, Fringeless just means that you end up with a little piece that doesn't have any hems on it, and it doesn't have fringe like this one. So, do you want to talk a little bit about why you would do fringeless, Sarah?
Yeah, well, there's two pieces to the structural why. One is that you end up with a piece that essentially has no finish work. You release it from the loom and you have this discrete, nice little tidy thing with your warps. Yeah, it's nice that we both hold them up at the same time. But
Right.
what you get while you're weaving is you get a big shed the entire time. So, whoops, let's see if I can get this in front of the camera. Did we go up? Yes. So here you can see the white part is the actual shape this tapestry will be. But even when I'm weaving right up here, I can open this great big shed way up here, which makes the weaving really, really pleasant the entire time. And as a person who gets a little involved with her work, and will spend many hours over the last 35 years sitting in front of a loom. Every bit of tension that you can not add to your hands is really important. And I've found now that my hands are old and quite crotchety, they are crotchety, with or without a T and an I and an E. They really work best and longest if the weaving itself is as pleasant and low key as possible. And having the ability to make a really big shed for all of the weaving so that you don't have a lot of stress on your fingers as you're opening each shed. And then also not to waste any warp to get that big shed, because you could do a different warping technique and have a lovely shed. But if your piece was only going to be this big, all of the stuff at the top would be loom waste, and then you would be cutting it off. And this way there is zero waste essentially, except for maybe 6 inches at the beginning and the end. It also means you can make with these little discrete units. Well, there's a million things we were going to talk about, but little experiments. It's very fun to do these experiments that end up being like these were paper weaving experiments. And because they end up being just sort of charming little things that I actually like to handle and have around, they could, in fact, like Rebecca's, although they do not have adorable gnomes on them, they could be Christmas tree ornaments, or they could be a part of a mobile. They can be almost anything. You can also make things like these bangles that I made, which are essentially, I'm going to unbutton this one, and you can see that it's basically a long, narrow strip of tapestry. Whoops, turn it around this way so you can see, with a button on one end and a slit, because, you know, we weave slit tapestry if we want to. Whoops, but that's so you can see the light through. There's a little slit, and that makes a buttonhole. And the edges, where is that? Sorry,
There you
I'm
go.
so unpracticed at this camera thing. There's the two ends, which are the same on both sides. So there's no fringe, there's no lumpiness, there's no having to deal with whatever. And then you can button it up. And, well, actually, I could have buttoned it around my hand if it was bigger. And then you have fiber jewelry, which, you know, is pretty terrific because it's very quiet and you can wear it on live on camera and it doesn't interfere with the microphones.
And there's a pattern for those bracelets in the class, right, Sarah?
Oh, right. Yes, there is. There is actually. And there's a million other things you could make little tiny earrings if you wanted to. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not even a jewelry wearer, but it is fun to decorate yourself. And it's oddly helpful to have these clean little crisp things that even commercial fabric you can't get. You'd have to hem commercial fabric. There's nothing I can think of except maybe, I don't know what. A crocheted thing. You could do a crocheted thing without ends because you'd have
Right.
one little loop at the end. So that's a technique where you could get something that shape. But very few woven fabric structures where you have a discrete little unit that you can do anything with. You can put different wefts, whoops, or you, oh, God, I keep this. I'm sorry, this backwards thing is driving me mad.
Okay.
But you could experiment with things, and then you can hang them on the, or in a frame in a way that is really, again, really clean and crisp. And if you happen to be like that look, it's about the only way I know to get there with a woven structure.